Hello and welcome back. I have a very special guest with me tonight, all the way from the UK. You know him as Quidsup. He's somewhat of an authority when it comes to security. And tonight we'll talk a little bit about what happened to the Linux Mint website, maybe talk about some of the technicalities of what happened, and maybe talk about prevention. And then if we have time, maybe some tips on how you and I can stay safe when we are using our respective operating systems. So Quids, how are you?
Well, Toss, yeah, good today. How are you doing?
I'm doing terrific. Okay, without getting too technical, but maybe explain what exactly happened to Linux Mint on that Sunday, February 20th, I do believe. How were they hacked?
So, as things have come out and changed now, I mean, initially we thought it was a WordPress plugin, and that is not the case. It wasn't. So it was a PHP bulletin boards. So what they've done, so Linux Mint are running this software on their website, and unfortunately left the config file out accessible to the internet. This is paramount to leaving the keys in the front door of your house and leaving the lights on.
Okay.
It's as bad as that, really.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, so unfortunately this hacker had found the file. I don't know the level of encryption for the passwords, but anyway, they siphoned off the passwords, able to meddle around with the rest of the website, and this is where we've found out they changed the link to a file hosted in the ISO, and yeah, serving their own ISO instead, a slightly modified version of Linux Mint.
Okay, so is WordPress inherently unsafe, or it was just poor judgment using WordPress? What exactly happened?
So PHP bulletin boards was their choice.
Okay.
Is it poor choice? No. Lots of people use it around the internet. The poor choice came in leaving the configuration file accessible to the internet. So this is where, as Linux users, we could say that file should probably be in your /etc folder, and your web server should be pointing to your /var/www folder, and the two should not be seen. You should not be able to see the /etc folder from the outside world.
So why wasn't this caught before? Maybe just an oversight, just human mistake, a simple boo-boo, as it were, or?
I mean, yeah, maybe someone just hadn't targeted the site before, or maybe they had and we just don't know about it.
Very possible.
Yeah, this is the big thing this time, is we knew about it. The ISO file had been changed. But if it was a case of the usernames going, forum names going, then that could have been sold on the black market and no one would ever know what otherwise.
Okay, so if I read correctly, I believe it was only the Cinnamon ISO file, right?
Yeah, I think it was, yeah. Cinnamon 64-bit, I think, wasn't it?
Okay, so if I downloaded this hacked Cinnamon ISO file, what exactly does it do, this hacked version?
So that one had I'm just trying to remember it because I did say it on the day 2 weeks ago and I had a few drinks since then. So that was had a tool to do a distributed denial of service. It take part in that, and it was controlled by an IRC channel. So your computer, if you had downloaded that ISO file, would link into an IRC chat where an attacker, a bot herder, we might call them, would say, direct a denial of service attack against this IP address. And the computer would effectively attack that, along with many others. And effectively say, bring down a website, bring down a user.
Okay, technically speaking, is this what's called a backdoor, as was somewhat reported, or something close to that?
No, that is incorrect.
Okay, no, please elaborate.
Yeah, because there's a lot of the sites saying, here's a backdoor, you must stop using it immediately, stop using your passwords on there, doing online banking, etc. No, the tool that was used is it dates back over 10 years old, a Linux tool to do distributed denial of service attack. That's what it was. It's just load a ping request to a computer, a server somewhere.
So how difficult was to do something like this, or was it fairly easy?
The tools existed, so actually fairly easy, really.
Okay.
it's what perhaps we don't realize as Linux users. There are viruses, there's rootkits, there's malware available, and it's open source.
Right.
The instructions exist on how to use it. The risk comes it needs to be installed on the system somehow, and this is where we're generally protected, being that it needs root user privileges to get on the system and to be run.
Okay. So if you were advising the team at Linux Mint in terms of let's never have this happen again, what? And I think they've taken. Last time I checked their forum, I think Clem, the maintainer of Linux Mint, I believe all the steps have been taken, and I trust him for that. But if you were on that team, on that board, how would you advise him to say, hey, this is how you prevent this? What are the steps? Say 1, 2, 3, and so on.
So firstly, don't leave your config files accessible to the outside world. First and foremost.
Come
I'll
on
never do that
right,
again.
yeah.
And I think the other one has got to be secure passwords.
Okay.
You know, in days gone by, we've been taught, oh yes, you should do like letter substitution, 3s for E's, 1 for I's,
Okay.
and do like 8 characters. Unfortunately, what's happened is we've programmed password crackers to crack passwords in that specific manner.
Right.
So everything we've been taught is completely wrong now for passwords.
Some of my favorite passwords is actually a sentence. Like, I do
excellent.
not like, strawberry nuts or something, or like strawberry ice cream, which I do love strawberry ice cream. It's just an example. And then toss in a symbol, but using a sentence, like I don't like guacamole as an example. I love Mexican food, but guacamole, no. So I'll put I don't like, that with the symbol. How does that sound?
That is an excellent password. Spot on. Thumbs
By
up
the way,
for it.
that is not one of my passwords, so yeah.
No. But no, this is where we get to phrases, sentences,
Okay.
multiple words,
Right.
because they become harder to crack.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so do you use any form of Linux Mint?
No, no.
Okay. Do you think it's worthy of it now since they realized what they've done? And do you think that the OS is secure, or does it still need some work, or for whatever reason it's just not for you?
I think my criticism of it used to be that I used to disable or maybe limit the kernel updates.
Yeah.
And my attitude in terms of security, if you're given an update for a security reason, you should apply that update, because you're fixing a bug or an exploit within the system that needs fixing. So by limiting the kernel updates, and there have been bugs and vulnerabilities within the kernel, you're exposing your users to an unnecessary risk.
Okay.
That's where my opinion always lied with it. Whether they've changed this now, I don't know.
Okay. I believe during the Mint update process, I believe you can change the settings from a level 3 to a level 4 or 5, which allows you to bypass the default settings to update the kernel, I think.
Yeah.
And that's what you recommend in general? I mean, as far as Linux Mint goes?
I would always just apply all security updates.
Okay.
In which case, including the kernel, which did bump that up, didn't it?
Okay. What OS do you use now currently? I mean, as far as Linux goes?
So I use Kubuntu 14.04 on my main system,
Okay.
which is where we're having this conversation. Yeah, that's Kubuntu 14.04, and for most of my servers is Ubuntu 14.04 server,
Okay.
as well as I've got a couple of Raspberry Pis with Raspbian on them.
Okay. Yesterday, for whatever reason, I was in the mood to test the Safari web browser, so I downloaded it for Windows. And after I used it, I'm like, wait a minute, this has not been updated since 2012, so I deleted it. What if I would have kept it? What would happen to me in the coming days or weeks if I would have kept the So
2012, let's think. So we've had a few updates with HTTPS certificates since then. We've had a lot have been invalidated.
Okay.
Wasn't there a case of some company actually lost all theirs? Now we're going back a little while, and I can't remember who it was, but
Okay.
no, it's gone. I can't remember now. But if you'd had one of those certificates sent to you from a website, your browser would just go, yeah, carry on with that.
Okay.
But a browser that's been patched with no any password exchanges with that website are potentially vulnerable to attack, man-in-the-middle attacks, loss of password.
All right. So the best advice is do not use an outdated web browser, period. Right?
That's correct, yeah. That I think certainly, if you were to say, I only want to update a few things on my system, your web browser's got to be on top of that list.
Okay. Okay. Do you have a favorite web browser, or do you use a few, or?
Most of my choice is between Firefox or Chrome.
Same here. I have tested something called Cupzilla. I guess it's based on Firefox. I test some other ones. There's Opera and some other ones. Pale Moon Browser, just out of curiosity. In fact, somebody commented once, Toss, why do you use so many damn browsers? I guess I don't have a favorite one, but usually between Firefox or Chrome, usually. Anyway, okay. So let's talk about some prevention tips for the mom and pop user. They just bought a new Windows computer, okay?
Oh no.
I bear with
Put Linux on it straight
We'll
away.
get to Linux in a moment. But let's say, mom and pop bought one for their son or daughter, and they don't quite understand all of Windows 10, how it works. In terms of prevention, we talked about keeping an updated browser as much as possible. But in terms of prevention, let's stick with Windows 10 now. What do you recommend? If someone likes Windows 10, like myself, to be fair, and I've done a few tweaks, but briefly, what can they use to be less spying involved?
Oh, spying is... This is a hard one. I won't go too much in technical details, but I can tell you almost for face value that all the lists that exist of the Microsoft spying websites, I've barely got half of them.
Wow.
And they're not even half complete. And I've just started using Windows 10 on a virtual machine, and within 5 minutes I found 20 undocumented Microsoft spying sites.
Wow. So let's put aside the spy. Say it was not a spying champion, as it were. Do you think Windows 10 is secure in general? Putting away the spying issue, if it had none, what do you think about it? So far in your tests?
I'd say it is, yeah. It is no better or worse than anything else I've used lately, so it seems secure, yeah.
As far as tweaking go, have you used, what's it called, Anti-Beacon, Spybot, Anti-Beacon?
No, I've heard a few people recommending this.
I've used that for some tweaking, and it seems to work as far as I know, but it's probably nothing as 100%. All right, so keep the web browser updated. Maybe something like Spybot, Anti-Beacon to tweak in terms of I believe it's called telemetry, of all the information that gets sent.
That's the polite word for saying spying and analytics.
Okay, I'll try to be diplomatic. Telemetry, spy.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. What about prevention of malware? Do you use any antivirus, say like Avast or something?
Oh, you see, my trouble with antivirus, I've seen so many now that actually decrease your security.
Really?
Or just sell out your information entirely.
Yeah. No kidding. Wow. In the
past, who did it with? Again, I'm trying to think of a report I read, but there was one that actually decreased the security in Chrome so badly. The makers of Chrome were either trying to put it as, if you're trying to declare it as a vulnerability or as a potentially unwanted application. So to declare an antivirus as a potentially unwanted application is about the worst thing you'll say for it, really.
Wow. I use different tools in terms of, spyware. There's something called Malwarebytes, Super Anti-Spyware, and there's some more. But those are the two that come to mind briefly. There are free versions that are very good tools, simple to use, that can try and keep your Windows computer clean in terms of malware, spyware, pups or pop-ups and stuff like that. But the built-in Windows Defender, it seems to be better than what it was in the past. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Joe, I've had probably more success with Windows Defender. So this goes back to Windows 7 now. The machines at our work, we have McAfee on there.
Okay.
and I've had things being caught by Windows Defender. I mean, I've actually seen an infection happen on the screen, like the browser-based pop-ups start appearing, and Windows Defender was the one that caught it, not McAfee, but the free Windows Defender did better.
Imagine that. Okay, so as far as staying secure in Windows 10 as much as possible, do all the updates, which I believe is automatic anyway now, right? There's no way to just shut that off. So I guess for the mom and pop, maybe that's better that it does all the automatic updates without the ability to switch it off. I guess that's a plus for someone who maybe doesn't know how to stay as secure as possible. So, you know, personally, I would like to have more control, but that's to each his own. So, okay, Linux. Any type of Linux-based operating system, how do we stay secure?
Well, there's very little you need to do on Linux. I mean, it comes with the firewalls. Okay, maybe not enabled, but they don't have the ports open to attack. So there's you don't need to block something that has nothing open. That's kind of a way of saying it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like you're defending a brick wall. It's like the brick wall's already sealed. You don't need to do anything there.
Fair enough.
I hear of antivirus checkers in Linux, but I don't use one myself.
I don't. Yeah. Somebody mentioned.
So one thing to say maybe for both operating systems is don't use Flash Player. That is probably the biggest vulnerability these days.
So what's the major replacement for Flash? Is it HTML5 or?
Yeah, that's it. HTML5 using the browser.
Okay.
And I've taken Flash off months ago now, and I don't really see it as a problem now. Most websites now using HTML5 video, like YouTube does. It's a big one.
So you definitely recommend don't use Flash at all now.
That's right. Yeah, take it off now.
Okay. But will that affect some videos or not really?
Not much now. No.
Okay.
Maybe games. Maybe there's affect there.
Yeah. One of the comments I got, one of the reasons why Linux Mint got hacked is because it is becoming more mainstream, more popular. I like Windows, although the percentage is still fairly small, but that seems to make sense. What do you think? The more popular you become less obscure, and people will try to take a crack at it.
Yeah, I mean, remember back with Macs. Mac used to say, no, I don't need antivirus. I'm invulnerable to attack. And what happened? They got attacked big time, didn't they?
That's the lesson. Nothing is 100%, not even Linux. Of course, Mac is based off of Unix, which I guess is a form of Linux if you want to get technical about it. But
yeah, they trace their roots back to the same parent.
Okay.
That's why I'm looking at it.
Okay.
I think the bigger you get, yes, the bigger your attack. And
okay.
in fact, time's gone by, it's actually more profitable for hackers to get a Linux box than it is a Windows box.
Okay.
On the other hand, it's harder. So
Yeah. One of the main reasons why I use Linux is that I do feel more secure using a Linux-based operating system. Although with Windows 10, with some tweaking, I feel secure, but if somebody pressed me, I'd have to choose Linux. But my other reason for using Linux is the maintenance is less in terms of doing the updates. All the updates, it doesn't take as long as it does in Windows. Sometimes it can take hours. Not lately, it seems. But for example, in the past with Windows 7 doing a bunch of updates, hours and hours. I mean, it worked. I didn't have any crashes, but it took too long. In Linux, it's usually pretty quick, unless you let it go for months. So, anyway. But all right, so let's wrap this up. Can Linux Mint still be trusted? I know that's a big question. I still think it can, but
do you know what? I'm going to say yes. Yeah. Okay. I think they've learned from their mistakes.
Okay.
They're going to rectify it. I would give them another chance.
I feel the same way. I still recommend Linux for beginners. I also like Zorin. I believe you have praised Zorin in the past, if I'm not mistaken.
I have done, yes. Yeah, I think anyone coming from Windows would like the interface. They would like the option to change it and look like Windows 7, look like XP.
Okay. Yeah. And then I would still recommend if you want to be more adventurous, maybe try Ubuntu with Unity. Perhaps Ubuntu Mate might be better. But if you want to try something different, and I do like Unity because it does look different. Maybe not quite newbie friendly, but I think it looks fine. So that's my advice. Quids, I think we can wrap it up unless you have something else to add. But sorry about you spilling your beer when I mentioned you like Windows 10 is your favorite. It was a joke, trust me.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what to call this, the Toss and Quid show. I'm not really sure, but
Yeah.
I'll figure something out. But anyway, please subscribe to our respective channels if you have not. If you have any questions about security or anything in general, I'm sure Quids will be happy to answer the questions. Like I said, he knows more about security than I do. So that's it. I think we can still trust Linux Mint. I think Clem and the team did a good job in pulling the website down as quickly as possible and in fixing it in a rather quick manner. It didn't take that long, if I recall. So I think a week, yeah, maybe less. But anyway, we still trust Linux Mint. So yes, Linux Mint does need to exist. Thank you. Quids, that's all I have for this. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see where this topic takes us. So.
Cheers.
Cheers.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.